My name is my name is Sarah Harris, and I'm the Senior Communication and Outreach Officer for the local Climate Adaptive Living Facility, which is a mechanism from UN Capital Development Fund focusing on channeling climate finance to communities for locally led adaptation to the impacts of climate change. Today's event is what's working on adaptation and how can we better learn from each other in South Asia. Perhaps briefly, just to introduce you to the topic, across South Asia, the impacts of climate change are forcing communities to rethink livelihoods, traditions, and reassess their future prospects. In a growing number of communities facing divergent challenges, the local Climate Adaptive Living Facility, or LOCAL, is delivering results and helping communities to unlock solutions that meet their local needs. In today's session, we're going to be bringing some people from countries in the region to share some of their real-world experience in implementing LOCAL, and to see how we can build on their experience to advance action on adaptation across the region. Today, we are kindly joined by Mr. Hari Prasad Sharma. Mr. Sharma has a master's in civil engineering in water resource management and has 25 years of working experience at the local government level and with universities and in the private sector, focusing on local infrastructure development, environment, and climate change. Mr. Sharma is currently working in the Ministry of Forest and Environment for the government of Nepal. Thank you for joining us today, Mr. Sharma. Do you want to say hello? I know you had your camera on there.
Hello, Sarah. Hello.
Hello there.
Good afternoon again.
Good afternoon. Very nice to see you. We're also going to be joined today by some speakers from Bhutan. I'm in touch with them on WhatsApp. They're having a few difficulties connecting, but we'll move to Bhutan perhaps second on today's program and allow us to then speak to Mr. Sharma first. So, Mr. Sharma, perhaps shall we start with you? You're joining us live from Nepal this morning. Perhaps we can start by talking about how climate change is impacting the communities that you're working with there in Nepal. Give us an idea of the picture on the ground there as it is today.
Thank you, Sarah. Sarah, good afternoon, you all. Talking about the climate change impact in our country, in our community, especially if we look the national scenario, then we are in the most climate vulnerable country. Some reports are showing we are in the 10th vulnerable climate change impact country in the world. The major sector of impact we are facing here are water sector. Especially, there are the two cases of water sector: too little water, one case, and too much water is another case. This type of impact we are facing in Nepal. And regarding the water security and food security, we have also the agriculture impact. In agriculture impact, we are facing the change of because of the change of discharge of water. It means availability of water is going down. So lack of the irrigation, the productivity is impacting. It means productivity is going down these days. And also talking about the geographical sensitivity, we have more than 60% of our land is above the 30-degree slope. It means most of the infrastructure constructed above 30-degree slope, they are assumed as a danger. And at the same time, we have another impact of climate change. And it means the degree of impact is increasing geographically as well as climate change. And the frequency of landslide, comparing to the past and the present, the event of landslide are going to increasing. And also talking about the flood event in the past was only with water, but now the flood is with debris. It means with gravels and other matter are coming. So the area which are nearer to the river and the streams, they are very much affected, and most of the agricultural land in the Tarai region is flooded during the monsoon season. And also, if we talk about the social impact, the many people are migrating from higher Himalayan to Middle Hill and Middle Hill to Tarai region. And also, talking about the snow melting scenario of Nepal due to the climate change, the snow mountain are facing, it means the lack of snow. It means the depth of the snow is going to be decreased, and many tourist sites are affecting from climate change. And also many hydropower which are constructed just downstream of the Himalayan river, they are affected by the glacier lake outburst, and many economic loss we are facing. And also many other sector, we have many losses in the event of high intensity rainfall in short duration. It means the 100 mm rainfall event in 24 hours are increasing in these days, and they are creating the catastrophic loss in flood and other sector. And accounting these major factors, we are losing 1.5% of GDP annually. This is the scenario. And also in the community level, if we see the basic infrastructure level impact, the water resource, it means the source of water in the rural area, we are getting water from spring source and small rivers and small streams. The discharge of the spring is going down, and also some of the spring are already declined. So water impact is being more higher. These are the major cases of climate change in Nepal. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll add if any query you have.
No, I mean, I think that's an excellent summary, and it shows that the extreme range of impacts that you're facing there. And it really struck me when you said that, you know, you're already seeing that this is a 1.5% loss on your annual GDP as a result. And no doubt those figures might be expected to increase without substantial investment in adaptation efforts. Yes. But so if these are the impacts that are being felt, I know that Locale is just being designed for early rollout there in Nepal. But what kind of activities are communities wanting to invest in to address these many and varied impacts of climate change across the country?
Thank you, Sarah. First, we have to look after what are the main driver of climate change in Nepal. First driver is water, and another is a geographical sensitivity. We have to consider for the adaptation also. So considering our geographical sensitivity and climate change scenario, we have to internalize it in our policy, in our program, and in our budget as well. And then the implementation will be strong, and ultimately we will be in resilience. Especially we are most of the country is rural in our context. So around 50% people are dwelling in the rural area. So in that area, we have to focus for the local adaptation. It means we have to apply the local technology, a local idea, and also the local material for the infrastructure development, also we have to use the local community organization to raise the awareness. And also we have to revise our guidelines, infrastructure guidelines. We have to revise, or we have to make a new guidelines by considering the impact of climate change, so that our structure will be more resilient. Also, side by side, we have to add more finance. We have to imply more finance for the local level adaptation. And also, we already started the building bylaws. It is compulsory in the municipal area. It means in urban municipality, implication of building bylaw is compulsory. But in case of rural municipality, we are not started it. So we required to utilize our fund for the building bylaws implementation for the adaptation. This is only one sector. I give the example, but there are many examples in different sector. Also in rural road, as I mentioned before, we have many rural roads without engineered design. We because of the low resources, all of the rural roads are urban roads. So for the resilience, we are already started to allocate 3 to 4% of total cost of rural road for the bioengineering. But this is just started. This is not fully functional, but we started, and we have to streamline. We have to complete it. It means we have to fully apply in all rural roads to allocate the fund of 3 to 4% for the bioengineering. It means nature-based solution. For this also,
Bioengineering.
yes,
Can you
bioengineering.
just explain a little bit more what I'm not familiar.
Oh, bioengineering means while you are constructing the engineering structure, you have to apply the, suppose if you have to construct the support wall of masonry or any cement structure, instead of that, you can use the bio. It means plant. You can plant the bamboo or other trees like that, so that they can take dual benefit. It means they can protect their structure, they can make their structure robust, as well as they can make a source of income to the community. It means bamboo, by selling bamboo or by utilizing bamboo, they can make their house. It means nature-based solution principle also we have to imply in our context. And also we have to make some hazard map. You're talking about the landslide hazard map. Also we have to make a flood hazard map. By making the hazard map, we can allocate which area is safe for the construction or which area is safe for the agriculture. Like that, we have to make first, and we have to go by planning. These are the major things we are requiring in Nepal.
Okay, great. So it's all about making sure you use the correct, most latest up-to-date information for your planning and activities, bringing in nature-based solutions so that they can be sustainable and locally supported. How, though, in your view, can the local climate adaptive facility support you and the communities where you're working in achieving these objectives?
Actually, in Nepal, we are not implemented the local program till
It's a planning
date.
stage right
Yes,
now,
we are
right?
we are in the planning stage. We are under the approval of a design note. After finalizing this design note, I think within few months we will finalize that project note, and we'll start the. I think we will start the implementation by 2024. So we did not have a experience of implementation, but by observing the provision provided in the design note, this will be made very much fruitful for Nepal, because this is the risk informed budgetary system. Also, this is also the government-driven approach. This local approach is taking the government-driven approach. So government priority will be in the center. So this program will obviously helpful for Nepal. Also, this is the local led adaptation we are focusing. So our community structure also are very robust. Right? Many rural area. There are many community groups like consumer group or many agricultural group or many sectoral group are there. By utilizing that group, we can apply the local adaptation. Also in our design note, what we finalize here is the breakdown of cost is 80% cost have to be implemented at the local level and 20% for the other operational costs. So this will be more. This is also included in our policy, climate change policy. This will be equally applied in the field. So this will be more effective in case of Nepal by implementing the local project.
Right, that's it. Because the impacts of climate change, although they're a global crisis, they're most acutely experienced at the local level. So the importance of getting finance to that local level for action is absolutely paramount.
Of course,
I mean, perhaps, yeah. I mean, we're still waiting for our speakers from Bhutan to join, but I have seen that my colleague from Bangladesh has joined us here on the call. And Bangladesh has been implementing the locale facility for a number of years now. Jesmo, are you able to join us for a few words, please? Perhaps you could switch on your camera and microphone. Jesmo, hello.
Hello.
Welcome. Great to see you there, Jesmo. How are you?
Thank you, sir. I'm fine. Thank you.
Welcome. I mean, you heard there some of the comments from Nepal. Nepal's now in the design stage with the locale facility. But in Bangladesh, we've been implementing locale for a number of years. Could you perhaps introduce, well, yourself and the program and some of the impacts that locale has been able to deliver in Bangladesh? Because you've been following and overseeing implementation there for a number of years, right?
Thank you, Sarah. I'm Jasmine Hassan. I'm working as the program specialist and also country relationship manager for UNCDF in Bangladesh. In terms of local, yes, we are currently implementing the second phase or consolidated phase of the UNCDF's maturity model. We have finished first of the second phase. We completed the first 4 years, then we got a 2 years extension, then we have got another 2 years extension, which has started this year and it will continue till mid of 2025. Basically, we are working with the local government in Bangladesh, which is the basic for local. We are not covering all the districts. In terms of hazards or major risk stressors areas, we are currently covering 3 major areas. One is coastal belt, which is affected basically by sea level rise and salinity and more frequent cyclones. And 2 other stressor areas we are working on is our flood, regular flood, and flash flood, which is in the northeast of the country. But for the extension phase, we are going to work in Chittagong Hill Cracks, which is mountainous areas, which is also categorized as another different stressor area in National Adaptation Plan. Basically, we are working with the local government for climate adaptive infrastructures. In last 6 years, we have financed 850 plus climate adaptive structures segregated into 8 major groups of areas. And of course, depending on stressor areas, the nature of structures that we funded are different. For example, in flood areas or flash flood areas, there are one kind of infrastructures, like in flood area. In recent years, one of the major hazard is um, lightning, the thunderbolt. So the requirement from there is to construct shelter for the farmers and the fishermen who can take shelter when there is cyclones or storms. So that is one example. Similarly, in flood-prone areas, there are requirement from local government, like irrigation, adaptive mitigation, like solar irrigation, because the cost of irrigation is increasing, and they want to use that clean fuel, so they convert it into use of solar power for irrigation. That has reduced their cost on the one hand, and on the other hand, they are using clean energy or renewable energy. In the coastal belts, it is all slightly different, because in the salinity affected areas, the major demand is for clean water, drinking water supply, and in the very remote areas, very hard to reach areas, the services of the national service providing organizations like local government engineering department or Department of Public Health Engineering are not available. So in those very hard to reach areas, through local government, we have been successful to reach, and we have been successful in setting up 3 different kind of water supply schemes, like rainwater harvesting, surface water treatment plan, and groundwater treatment plan. So depending on local context and requirement and hazard, we have set up all these adaptive infrastructures. The key thing is our intervention has been included in the government's major policy documents like National Adaptation Plan and Mujib Climate Prosperity Plan. So it is official recognition of the local model at the policy level. That is one. Second one is in this new extension phase, we are going to focus more on how to localize the National Adaptation Plan into the planning of the local government, because National Adaptation Plan has been approved only recently, last year in November 2022. So currently we are working we are developing a module for how to integrate the National Adaptation Plan's intervention strategies and specific intervention areas into the planning of the local governments, but basically Upazila Parishad. That is one. But also we are thinking to work on the nationally determined contribution as well. That is vertical integration of nationally determined contribution in the local government planning. One of the key achievements that we have made over the years is we have developed a climate vulnerability index that is 3 major criteria: exposure, sensitivity, and adaptive capacity. These 3 major criteria then again were segregated into 52 sub criteria or sub indicators. We collected information on all these indicators from multiple sources, secondary sources mostly, and we have put this into a formula-based vulnerability index. Now, for all the local government, rural local government tiers of the country, 4,000 plus Union Parishad, 400 plus Upazila Parishads, and now what is ongoing on the municipalities, we have come up with a climate vulnerability index, and the Ministry of Local Government in Bangladesh has in principle agreed to use it in their regular intergovernmental fiscal transfer. That is, currently in the intergovernmental fiscal transfer, they provide fund to local government on the basis of 3 criteria: population, size, and backwardness. And we are doing advocacy with them to include the climate vulnerability as well. And in that case, they can use our vulnerability index into this allocation formula. So if that we are successful finally, it has been technically approved by the local government ministry. Now it is waiting for the political approval from the minister, which we are expecting quite soon. Then that will be a major change in the whole intergovernmental fiscal transfer in Bangladesh, because that will include the climate vulnerability issue. So all the local governments will automatically get 25% of their intergovernmental fiscal transfer share for using climate adaptive infrastructures or climate adaptive local development work. So that is one of the kind of key technical inputs that local has provided. And now, since we are working to develop the local adaptation plan of action following the national adaptation plan, that is localizing NAP towards LAPA, then that will be another major achievement for us, because in that case, the 5 years planning of the local government will include the intervention strategies and intervention schemes of the National Adaptation Plan into the local level. So these two, one is developing the LAPA at the by the local government. On the other hand, the inclusion of climate vulnerability into the intergovernmental fiscal framework. Together, these together, we are expecting that will make a major change at the local level in terms of localizing the climate change adaptation or financing local level climate adaptation. So this is in short from Bangladesh side. Over.
I mean, that's great, Jasmine, and I think it shows the real complementarity of practical solutions in enabling the finance to get through, but also the capacity building aspect and you know, the improvement to access to good quality information, because it's impossible to work and deliver effective adaptation at any level if there's not correct information and up-to-date information available on which to plan and base those decisions. So I think it's really important that we do remember that, you know, this kind of improved access to information is always part of the process and part of the work that's being done. I was going to pass to colleagues and speakers from Bhutan now, but I believe they're still having trouble connecting. Happily, though, I do see on today's call that we have Shering Penjor, who is our former colleague from Bhutan, who's on the line. Shering, are you able to speak briefly? Because it would be a shame, I think, not to have a few comments from Bhutan today. I don't know if you're able to switch on your camera and microphone.
Hi, Sarah and colleagues. Yes, I can speak briefly, but there will be noise problem. I'm in the school to pick up my daughter. She is taking some time, so I can speak meanwhile.
I'm sorry, we've kind of dropped on you. We've dropped on you, but it just give me a few. Just tell me briefly why you think that Locale was effective in Bhutan, and then perhaps I'll go ahead and show a video that we have from Bhutan instead, so that we can release you to go and get your daughters from school.
Sure. Okay, I think in terms of why Locale was effective in Bhutan, firstly, I must say it's because of the country ownership. We have a strong national ownership when it comes to local development planning and implementations. We have a local government act that empowers the local communities and the local government. And Locale is also built on the annual capital grant that government gives. So Locale's performance-based climate resilience grants are allocated on top of the annual capital grant that are being given to the local government. So that's why I think there's strong ownership in terms of both in terms of implementation at the local level, community level, as well as from the central government in terms of empowering the local government. So that's why it was Locale is very effective in Bhutan. We built on the existing national systems and mechanisms. We don't try to impose on any new things. We mostly built on whatever the systems or the mechanisms that are in place. So basically trying to build on the existing mechanisms of building the capacities of the local government functionaries. And also mainstreaming was one key factor that contributed to success, because mainstreaming was picking up when Locale was, even before Locale was implemented in Bhutan. So that's why I think I must say local government functionaries are well aware of mainstreaming cross-cutting issues that not just includes climate change, but also gender, disaster, poverty, and so on. Over from my side, Sarah.
Thank you very much for a very brief and impromptu, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, rundown on Bhutan and Locale in Bhutan.
No, I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any questions.
That would be great if you could stay on the line, because
Sure.
I think it would be nice to give everyone who's on the call here an opportunity to ask questions. And also, we could spend a bit of time looking at the main point of this event, of course, which is how we can learn from each other and how the different countries and the different stages in their different stages of implementation can perhaps share experience and improve the way forward, really. I'll stop there now, but I think I should perhaps I'm going to show that video from Bhutan, because I think that Bhutan has been implementing Locale for the longest period in the South Asia region. In fact, Bhutan was piloted in Bhutan and Cambodia well over 10 years ago now. And during that first pilot stage in Bhutan, there was an assessment done with the local community, and through those consultations, community requested investment through their local government in the building of a bridge. That bridge still stands today, and very recently one of our team was in the region and managed to put together this video. So I'm going to play this video for you now. I think it gives you a good idea of what Locale investments involves at the community level, and how those investments can be very forward-looking and long-standing.
This bridge was made over a decade ago, while piloting the Locale methodology for locally led adaptation.
My name is Shishi Jamso, principal of Ramachan Primary School. The younger generation are the one who is going to lead the future, so the education is must. So therefore, the community out here also, they know that the value of the this bridge actually it helps a lot for this community, as almost the 60% of the students are coming from that village. They have a temporary wooden bridge, which is very risky for the students. And what they do is they always try to come through this the connection road. They take almost 1 hour to reach the school. And if this bridge is not here, I guess that the student may not be able to attend the regular classes.
More adaptation investments soon followed, focusing on improving access for previously isolated rural communities, such as this 3-kilometre-long farm road that connects 2 more villages to the school and other public services and gives faster access to markets. First piloted here in 2010, the Locale mechanism and its performance-based climate resilience grants are today being integrated in the decentralised approach to adaptation across Bhutan, and with EU funding, has delivered more than 344 small-scale investments in over 100 GWs nationwide.
Kita lok ngara 2000 level le de sane jo godang bona chama to tine misigi jab jo na chak tu bu telen local se yi de mingji go bela the pilot project be ha jam gana ngachina one of the imagine poti ge obe the napshi ne dang ani don be ni tega de pen to se june na da the zamdi be bajin chap de gi chudi de ji de thingin du su de chakdani ni khai do mola zam me be gale hema ya gi zam gule noya chakda e bala 아니 잠메다 노르세 추기 작다니 빌라 데미스 nhập 수로 강일 남지도 다리 아니 로컬 기잡주 토할레 잠드 수잡도다리 딜로토비아 bombe라 톱지 등가라 남섬 예란디.
After 3 budget cycles using Locale, the long-term benefits of adaptation investments are having a catalytic effect. For farming communities in Pabika Valley, the contrast is clear.
साइड बेदिंग में मो छेमा छेगे हेमा की लमाने भी दिन बाजा ना मो आनी भी का ट्रक दिस मिथे बाजा मो ते सिंग सोको बे छेमा जम्बे आतर मो ते छेमा जम्को बे बादे मो हलम लो खेल हाप चिति दिगि तुर छ बादे मो
The successful scaling of Locale in Pobika and its integration in national systems in Bhutan provide a model for locally led adaptation that today is being replicated in 34 countries worldwide. Locale, financing locally led adaptation.
Okay, I think that video, while it doesn't replace our speakers from Bhutan, I think it clearly gives you a good idea of the work that's been undertaken there. And I did just hear from our speakers. Unfortunately, they got caught up on the road today traveling and are unable to join us for today's call. But if anyone is specifically interested in more information about our work in Bhutan or had any particular questions that they'd like to pose to us or our representatives in the country, do add them to the chat and I can ensure that they will be passed on. We were hoping to bring to you today Sonam Dendup, who is the head of a Gewog in southeastern Bhutan, where Locale is being implemented, and also Ugyang Yangzom from the southern part of the country. She was from Nangshan Gewog in eastern Bhutan. They will be available by email, so if there are specific questions for the nitty-gritty of Locale implementation or their experience addressing adaptation in Bhutan, you can add them to this chat and I'll make sure they get passed along to those speakers. Alternatively, you can have a look at the Locale website, and there's lots more information there about not just only our activities in Bhutan, but of course across the South Asia region. I would like, though, before moving any further, one of the main points of this event was to really look at how we can learn from each other in the South Asia region. So I was wondering if I could ask our speakers, Mr. Sharma, Jesmul Hassan, and Sharing, if you're available. I know you're probably rather busy there picking up your kids, but if not, don't worry. We'll just speak with perhaps Jesmul and Mr. Sharma, Mr. Hari Sharma. If you could put on your cameras briefly, maybe we can just talk quickly. Thank you. I'll let Sharing answer by chat. I see that he's going to message in the chat. Jesmul, are you able to put on your camera again, do you think? Wonderful. That's great. I mean, we've talked a bit about your in-country experiences, specifically about how adaptation manifests in Nepal and Bangladesh. But are there, do you think, some advantages in being part of this community of countries implementing a similar or the same mechanism and approach? Perhaps I should turn this question first to Jesmul, as Locale has been in place there for a number of years. What do you see as being the advantages of being part of this this community of adaptation countries?
Thank you, Sarah. In fact, since all these countries are located in the same region, there are many commonalities in terms of culture, in terms of living style, in terms of the development status. I can understand that Bhutan is going to graduate out of LDC status this year, and both Bangladesh and Nepal are going to graduate in 2026. So even in terms of economic development process and progress, all the countries of this region are almost very close to each other. So in terms of sharing knowledge, yes, as I have told that there are a good number of results and achievements that we have made in Bangladesh, and we are going to share those results and processes with the other countries in the region. For example, there are bureaucracies, there are government systems in all these countries, there are government departments, and each country has its own style or process of work. So naturally, when we are successful in engagement with Ministry of Local Government in Bangladesh, or in terms of engagement with the local government bodies, the lessons that we get can be shared with other countries as well. That is one. Second one is, this is locally led adaptation. So in case of locally led adaptation, the role of the local government plays more important role, and the national government plays more in kind of policy making role. But matching the two is very, very important, because although the local governments, they can come up with their own plans, they can come up with their own requirements, but if they are not always supported by the central government in terms of policy, in terms of fiscal transfer, it might be challenging for the local governments to continue their work on locally led adaptation. That is the second one. Third one is a technical part. Bangladesh has developed a very good national adaptation plan, and it was largely led by very sophisticated technical departments, engineers, climate experts, and other relevant government departments. It was a concerted effort of a number of government departments which together produced the national adaptation plan, of course with support from our development partners like us. So similarly, Bangladesh has done very good nationally determined contribution on all these things. So process-wise, how these documents have been developed, or how these documents can be improved, that is another way of collaboration among these three countries, because climate change reasons, the climate change data, those are evolving, those are changing. A document, a policy document, or a forecast that is made in 1 year, after 5 years, that might not remain valid at all. That might be changed because of global changing of global environment and climate issues. So how to evolve with the process, with the changes, and how to evolve that in terms of policy and institutions that can also be shared. For example, in Bangladesh, in the Ministry of Finance, there is a climate finance unit. It was not there before. It was set up only recently. In the budget speech of Bangladesh, now there is a budget code on climate change, climate budget code, that is part of National Climate Fiscal Framework, and the finance minister reports to the parliament on how much is being spent on the climate change. Currently, it is 4 or 5% of the GDP, and every year during budget session, he has to submit this report. But also there is local climate fiscal framework on which we are working, but we are not much successful on that. And that is including the climate change process in all the activities of the local government. That is planning, budgeting, expenditure, post-expenditure audit, control, monitoring, everything. So that is the local climate fiscal framework. And there is a requirement to link between the national climate fiscal framework with the local climate fiscal framework. Despite doing many things at the country level with its own resources, Bangladesh has not been very successful in terms of bringing global resources. So there is the political issue as well. So these are the lessons, and these are the issues that can be discussed with other countries of the region, both Nepal and Bhutan, and how we can kind of work together. Of course, locally being a global mechanism has created that platform as well. Since local is being implemented in all the countries, so all these countries can benefit from this global mechanism by exchanging lessons, sharing experiences, and also by common policy advocacy, which is affecting all the countries. Over.
Yeah.
Sarah.
Great, thank you, Jesmal. I mean, Mr. Sharma, Lokal is still in the planning stages there in Nepal, but I'm sure you also see that there's opportunities for shared experience and shared learning across the region. I mean, what do you think would be of benefit for Nepal at this stage for you? What would you like to see, and what opportunities do you see for shared learning across the region that could help you in your planning and adaptation efforts?
Thank you, Sarah. Talking about the benefit of implementing local and sharing our regional context, as already mentioned by the colleagues from Bangladesh, we have to learn, we have to take many things from their experiences. Okay, as he mentioned it already, we have to make a separate platform for sharing the best practices, as well as some bottleneck also. in defined frequency. It means yearly or half yearly or quarterly we can share, either by joining online, or sometime we can arrange the field visit as well. And also we have to learn from Bangladesh that they already started local climate fiscal framework that we are not started yet. We have to learn from them, and we have to start it. We have to start. And also talking about the climate change budget code, we also started the climate change budget code in only one ministry by now, but we have to explore it all the ministries. I think within next year we will be finalized to climate change budget code for all the ministries. And also we have to learn from Bangladesh that how they are making the long-term plan and how they are converting their long-term plan into the annual plan. What is their, it means what is their business plan, what is their long-term plan, and how they are internalizing in annual plan. That things I want to learn from them. And also we are in the beginning stage, so what criteria we are applying to select the project. That type of criteria, if we get from the Bangladesh, we can include in our project selection criteria. And also regarding the monitoring, what is the monitoring frequency they are applying or they are using, and what is the evaluation, what is the weightage for the criteria, what type of weightage for which criteria they are allocating. We want to learn from them. These are the things, Sarah. Over to you.
Excellent. Thanks very much. I mean, I should just say that the locale facility is designed and managed by UNCDF, but there is a locale board, and the board is made up of representatives of all the countries who are implementing locale, and this meets every year. And it's an excellent opportunity to exchange just this kind of information, practical lessons from locale implementation, how to do the job and how to do it better. So there's a formal structure as being part of locale for this kind of exchange of information. We'd like to think that this also trickles down as much as possible to the community level, and we're always looking for ways to make sure that that can be built on and improved. I was wondering, now we do have a bit of time still, because we have 35 minutes yet still on this session. Is anybody looking to ask questions? Because you're very welcome to put on your camera and microphone and ask any of our speakers today any questions. So I'm opening the floor. No takers? If there are no takers for questions, let me briefly summarize. I think we had an excellent rundown of how climate change is impacting communities in Nepal, in Bangladesh, and we also got to see the nice video there from Bhutan. Although it was clear that climate change is impacting communities in subtly different ways depending on the country and the region, there's no doubt that climate change, though a global phenomenon, is taking its hardest toll at the local level. We've seen that the locale facility is delivering results that are long-standing. They go back a long way in Bhutan, where locale was first piloted, and that community is growing even till today. Perhaps the best way, I see we have a question in the chat. How can climate adaptation affect WASH? Thank you, Asun Kunle. I guess you're calling in from Nigeria, is that right? I don't know if you're able to switch on your...
Yes, you are right, Ma. I'm Oshokule Abdulmajid from Federal Polytechnic Bauchi. I'm very happy to be here. I've learned a lot. And my question is, how can actually the global climate change affect WASH? That is water, sanitation, and hygiene. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's a good question, because I think, as you already heard today, a lot of the projects, no matter the context in the country, often boil down to investment in water infrastructure, because whether it's resulting in floods or drought, flash flooding, fluctuations in rainfall totals, one thing that we're finding across locale implementation, and this is not just in South Asia, but across the regions, and including in Africa, Osunkunle, is that communities do seem to come together around action on water, investment in water infrastructure. If there's one thing that a community can agree on, is that everyone benefits from improved water infrastructure, whether that's for personal use and household use, or for use in agriculture and farming. I don't know if Jesmal or Mr. Sharma, Mr. Hari Sharma there from Nepal want to chime in with any additional comments on that. But even as you heard there from Jesmal,
Sarah, can I
yeah,
come
go
in
on,
briefly?
sharing, please.
Yeah. Okay, like I think I'm still waiting. So in terms of how climate change is impacting WASH, particularly in Bhutan, like most of the drinking water sources are drying up because of the impact of climate change. So without access to drinking water, there's no way we can maintain health and hygiene. So this is one major issue here in Bhutan, where the water sources are drying up. And I have been to Pacific, particularly a small country called Tuvalu. So in Tuvalu, they solely depend on rainwater for drinking water. So even though they are surrounded by oceans, the access to safe drinking water is dependent on rainwater. If there's no rainwater for more than 2 weeks, then the nation is always going to declare state of emergency. So with this climate change, there is irregular rainfall. The rainfall pattern is irregular. So that's how I think it's impacting even in the Pacific Island countries with this climate change. The rainfalls are like not so frequent, so which is going to affect this WASH program. And in the mountains countries, like water sources are drying up. And of course, like, as Sarah mentioned, there is flash floods, there's contamination of waters because of all these issues. So this is how generally climate change is impacting the WASH. And there's also a question in terms of whether this locally led adaptation is community-led adaptations. Well, while it is community-led adaptation, but we put the local government in the forefront because we want to have some governing body when it comes to this locally led adaptation. So we put local government in the forefront, but local government engages the communities. So that way it's a community-led adaptation, but communities on their own cannot do things because they have to have some resources secured to the government or the international funding agencies. So they have to work closely with the local government. So while it is community-led, it is mostly driven by the local government in consultation with the communities. Over. Thank you.
Thanks very much, sharing. Yeah, great examples there. And in fact, perhaps Osunkune, I could direct you to have a look at the website. If you have a look in our news section, you could also search up for stories on Mozambique, because there's some really good examples there of how during the COVID crisis, funding for local was very quickly switched to WASH activities because communities quickly wanted to prioritize WASH issues in the middle of, obviously the pandemic. Jesmal, I see you put your camera back on there. I think it'd be great to hear a few more words from you too, please.
Yes, I'd like to give just 2-3 examples. Floods has been happening in Bangladesh for many centuries, in fact, but in recent years, the frequency of flood has increased, and the impact of flood has also been very much more severe than before. And now we got requests from very remote, hard to reach riverine islands where people affected by flood used to live. And there was flood shelter constructed several years back, but now they have asked for constructing additional Watson facilities there in the flood shelter. That is one example. Previously, there was Watson facilities, toilets, but now they have asked for separate toilets for men and women. Because previously the idea was, okay, whenever flood comes or cyclone comes or tidal surge comes, those are short-lived. So people don't need to spend much time in the cyclone shelters. But nowadays, the severity of these natural calamities has increased. So now people have to spend more time in cyclone shelters and flood shelters. So naturally, the requirement for the Watson facilities has increased. So these are the kind of infrastructures that we have to fund, and as part of our adaptation strategy. So this is not only and the riverine flood affected remote, hard to reach areas, but also in the coastal areas. Several thousand cyclone shelters were built almost 3 decades back, but nowadays those need repairment because of creating additional provision for water supply, drinking water, sanitation facilities, and all these things. So this has become common in all our 7 districts. And that is the lesson that during the climate-induced vulnerabilities with hazards, it is not only people's life, but also people's other aspects of life are also getting affected. That is why we are getting this kind of support for this kind of infrastructures. So Watson or WASH is really affected by climate-induced hazards. Over.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed, Jesmore. Harry, any additional comments from you? Because I'm sure WASH is a big issue, and I know, well, it's your main subject, isn't it? You're an expert in water resource management as well. So please, comments from you.
Thank you, Sarah. Talking about the scenario of Nepal, as I mentioned in the background before, around 30% of spring are being drying because of the climate change. And around 50% of the spring sources in the Himalayan region, the quantity of water discharge is being down. So if the quantity and quality of water is not as it means it does not fulfill the requirement of given standard, then people cannot wash, people cannot bath, they cannot do the cleaning and other things. Obviously, these things will automatically affect the wash sector. So for the adaptation option, we are applying the water safety plan in Nepal. Many water sources are being drying, so we are protecting that sources by some special structure to protect from flood, to protect from cattle access, and other also. And in the Tarai region, in the plain region, there is an equal chance of flooding, and we are applying for the adaptation of water sources. We are raising the well top cover above the high flood level, and also talking about the toilet. It means in the Tarai region where flooding occurs, we are constructing the pan level. It means squatting level above the high flood level. These are the things we are practicing in Nepal, and this is very important for the adaptation of WASH. Thank you, Sarah. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Harry. Any more questions from the floor? I'm going to just check the chat, make sure that there's none there. Otherwise, feel free to put on your camera. You're welcome to ask questions. I'm going to take that as a no. And I guess that means our speakers today. Thank you very much. Hari, Jesmal, and Shering have been very clear. Perhaps the best way to wrap up the event is if I just show another last video. This video will give you a clearer idea of not Local's operations just in South Asia, but globally. So perhaps I'll just play out with that video. Of course, if you have any more questions, we'll keep the chat open and you're welcome to add them in the chat box, or you can reach out to me directly at sarah.harris.simpson@uncdf.org.
Countries across the world are coming together as part of the local climate adaptive living facility. From Africa, developing and least developed countries, small island developing states, united in action on adaptation to the climate crisis. And the situation has never been more urgent. Climate shocks are increasingly common and devastating. Communities are under threat. Livelihoods and lives are being lost. The regions that contributed the least to global warming have limited resources to deal with its consequences. They need finance. The Local Climate Adaptive Living Facility, or LOCAL, addresses this urgent need. Designed by UN Capital Development Fund over 10 years ago, LOCAL is an internationally recognised and standard mechanism for channeling climate finance to communities, for adaptation that is transforming economies and lives. LOCAL brings together over 30 countries from Africa, Asia, the Caribbean and Pacific. Their shared goal: effective and sustainable adaptation that is resilient, locally led, and puts communities first. Action at the international level with LOCAL brings countries together for shared learning, advocacy, and action. Climate change is a global challenge, but its impacts are experienced locally, where we work, where we go to school, where we live our lives. With LOCAL, the countries and communities on the climate change front line are taking the lead. The systems for climate finance delivery are in place. It's time to take LOCAL adaptation to scale. LOCAL, financing locally led adaptation.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. If you have any questions, please add them to the chat or put on your cameras now, or contact me directly via email. Otherwise, we'll close today's session. Thank you to all our speakers today. Thank you, Hari. Thank you, Jesmal. Thank you, Shering.
Can we have a
Thank you,
quick
Sarah.
picture?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you.
Can we have a quick picture so if everyone can like
Yes,
everyone
that would be
can
great.
put
If you can
camera
all
on,
put
so we can
cameras
have
on, then
yeah, we can have a picture.
wonderful, lovely to see. Hello, Vanessa. Here too. Hello, very nice to see you.
Hello, nice to see you.
Anyone else? Okay. Thanks very much. And thank you also to our organisers, ICAD, for organising this series of events. And I wish you the best of luck this week. I know that it's going to be a busy time for you. If I could just ask Jesmol and Harry to stay on the line. Otherwise, I think we'll close up for today. But thank you everyone for joining, and I look forward to seeing you at our next event. And don't miss out on all the rest of the events, of course, taking part of this series by ICAD. Would Jesmol, would you prefer to do that, Jesmol?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Today we had an excellent event on what's working on adaptation and how can we better learn from each other in South Asia. We brought together speakers from Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Nepal. They shared the impacts of climate change and how they're forcing communities to rethink livelihoods, traditions, and reassess their future prospects in each of these countries. While growing numbers of communities are facing divergent challenges, the local climate adaptive living facility is delivering results and helping communities unlock solutions that meet local needs in all of these differing contexts. We heard about some real-world experiences in implementing locale and building on local knowledge and local activities to strengthen adaptation across the region. I think one of the things that really came home from this event was that communities are looking to learn from each other, that the South Asia context is highly interconnected, and that there is lots of learning and skills to be shared. Thank you very much. I don't think that was